So this one is Haley Meijer, an innocent victim or a con artist. And I use that term lightly because we actually feel bad for Haley because we're not sure that she's all in her right mind or ever has been her entire life. If you Google James Casbolt, you're going to come up with tabloids from his ex wife, Haley Meijer, over blackmail revenge porn. She put this man in jail and had other women coupling on top of the accusations of stalking. Maybe they were fucking cunts. Who knows? You can't call a woman out for being a witch nowadays. You can't call them out for being a cunt. Um, I guess not. But, it was like sparked this feeding frenzy to kill the rooster, as I say it. Honestly, I'm not even biased because you might know James Casbolt is now my boyfriend, but I've always wondered about the true nature of Haley Meijer ever since I found his material because I found it heartbreaking that this woman, I did believe his story. I do believe his story. So if you can't hear this because you're like, you think I'm brainwashed, then just exit out of the video. I've always believed his testimony that this family basically inducted him into the United States to get into this relationship with this woman to have his child and then discard him. And they can say he went crazy. Why was he going crazy though? Because if you induct a man, take him out of a criminal lifestyle, you rush him to the top of the US Army and then have a baby with him and then just discard him out of the country, that would make any man go nuts just within itself. When he went back to England, he put out revenge porn for blackmail. I wouldn't have known that was even illegal. So if I put myself in his position, I wouldn't have thought that was illegal. So this is what I want to speculate about Haley Meijer. Is she an innocent victim or is she a con artist? We feel bad for her because we don't know that she's all in her right mind. We don't know that she's not being used by something bigger. I shouldn't even say we, because even though James Casbolt is now my boyfriend, I've always held this view. The only reason why I've had greater insight into the situation is because he is now my boyfriend. So the only channel of communication between him and Haley has been through me for many years now, even though him and I have only had a channel of communication for a little over a year. Now, we were talking about opening some line of communication for him to interact with his son. I didn't hear back from Haley, didn't hear back from her. And, together we decided that he's probably at too much of a confusing age right now to meet his biological father. He's only 12. So because the damage has been done, because it has been so long, this boy has been without a father because his mother's, in my opinion, a psycho. It's probably best that we wait until Dresden is an adult now because it's too weird of an age to come into communication with your biological father. So we dropped it. But then she comes at me last night flipping out about how can you support this person, he abused me and blah 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 and all this stuff. And this has been the story for as long as it's been. But Haley has attempted to put out all her testimony against James Casbolt for years, because I've been in touch with her for years, but she deletes it. But she chickens out. She can't do it. I deem the woman an unsafe person because she has no ability to stand up for herself. That's why she gets herself in the worst situations. And I'm only angry because of the way it is. I'm not angry at her. We feel bad for her. We are like, what is wrong with her that she is the way that she is. She's not an innocent victim. She's being used in a way with no line of defense. She's tried to stick up for herself year after year after year, and she can't seem to do it. So I've deemed this woman, in my mind, as like an unsafe person. I'm like, she can't stick up for herself, whether all she wants to do is make James Casbolt look like the worst person ever, right? Paint this story as if he's just this monster. And I'm not saying he wasn't a monster, but she admits to no fault. So this is the new update, because I have been waiting for this woman to crack for so long, because she's such a puppet, she's such a pawn, in my opinion. I would love for her to prove me wrong. I mean, this is still like a human being walking the earth, but she's like not. She like is so easily manipulated by anyone around her, and that's what makes us feel bad for her. But the problem is, she had a son with James Casbolt. So finally, California's on fire. She's all emotional. She reaches out on Instagram and she flips out at me about how can you love such a monster? You know, he abused me, blah, blah, blah. This has been her story forever. If you look at the tabloids, if you Google James Casbolt, it's going to come up about, oh, blackmail porn. Who is this liar and this fanaticist? Right? Does she feel like that is just sufficient? Because I'm here to say maybe this woman is actually being used, and then it appears as if she's actually somewhat of a con artist and was from the beginning, maybe not even to her awareness. You know how some people are so MK Ultra mind controlled? But it doesn't give her a free pass, in my opinion, to make this person it's like nobody's denying that Michael wasn't a monster. So I'm getting to my point. Like, nobody ever denied the fact that he was in fact predatory towards Haley. But from what I've gathered recently, the revenge porn that he put out, what I suspect and what I gather is that those images and those videos are actually pretty humiliating. They're pretty dark. They're pretty terrible. I never saw them. So it leads me to wonder, why in the world would you allow this man to take such humiliating photos of you? Do you take no responsibility whatsoever for the fact that you allowed this man to take these humiliating images and videos of you in a sexual nature? This is all I wanted to know. All I wanted to know, because I've been waiting for Haley to reveal her true character, and she fucking did. Excuse my language. Sorry. She did last night. She's just out of nowhere, just starts flipping out, right? Going nuts, right? These girls are short-circuiting, because what are they? Who are they? What the hell is going on with these women? It's like the world is not big enough for the both of us. They are something different. They are something weird, dark, sinister, and until I am shown otherwise, that has been my view from day one. The creepiest thing about Haley Meijer is she maintains this illusion of being this super nice, super agreeable person. I've been waiting for years for this woman to finally reveal to me or anyone her true nature. And she did the other night. And then she did. And then I was relieved because it gave me the opportunity. It created the context for me to then say, do you take no responsibility whatsoever for allowing this man to take such terrible, atrocious, humiliating photos and videos of you? Not only that, do you not feel guilty for the fact that you put this man in jail for what could have been 12 years? Because the most suspicious thing of all was when I started communicating back and forth with James Casbolt, he told me, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Hold on one second. Okay, so there are allegations towards James Casbolt from Haley Meijer. One of her biggest things that she's been saying for years is that Michael punched her in the stomach when she was pregnant. Right? She would tell everybody that. He punched me in the stomach when I was pregnant. And I'm like, well, that's fucking crazy. So then I had to bring the accusation to him. And he was like, oh my God. I just don't. With trauma, people's memories are like skewed. So he's like, for days, he's like, I just can't believe it. Like, he's like, I really don't think that happened. He's like, that is such a wild observation, but like, let me think on it. And I don't know, because we were trying to open a line of communication. So I was like, you might have to admit to things, you might have to apologize for things that you never did, because we know, for in my words, not his, she's such a bullshit person, and we just want a line of communication to his son eventually. Now the age is a little bit too confusing, but it was like, in terms of opening up a line of communication to the son, that these people stole his genes, in my opinion, not even his opinion, even though he has said it, and he might have changed his opinion, still my opinion. I do believe that is exactly what happened. I don't like this family, I don't dislike this family, but I don't particularly like them. I don't particularly like these billionaires and these millionaire trustafarian bitches. Don't necessarily like them, because their personalities are bad. Because this woman has spent years pretending to be the nicest, most agreeable, ultra victim of James Casbolt, when I actually think that she was the perpetrator. She has a lot of responsibility in what happened, her own responsibility for allowing this man to do what he did, and for allowing such humiliating videos and images to be taken of you. No wonder he was pissed off, because you kicked him out of the country after bringing him in off of a criminal salary into expediting him to the top position in the army because of your dad, breeding with him, and then kicking him out of the country when he started to find out, probably my words, not his, the nefarious underpinning agenda of you and your fucking family. But we feel bad for her because we think that she's just a puppet. She's just a pawn. She's just some kind of like weird, soulless, in my opinion, my words, not his, a soulless vessel used to do a very sinister plan. So she would always say, this man punched me in the stomach when I was pregnant. He's like, oh my God, that's crazy. So he thought on it for days, and he's like, I really don't think I did that. And in the beginning, I was like, maybe you should just apologize for things that you never did, as a means to reconcile your relationship with your son. And he agreed. He said, okay. He's like, I guess that's the plan. This is what we're going to do. So then I went back to Haley and I said, listen, James says he is so sorry for what he did to you. He's, really just, that's terrible. He can't even believe it. He doesn't even remember it, and he's terribly sorry. Okay, so then the story changes. So then Haley says, because she's got to have some conscience, she says, after he apologizes, well, maybe I didn't know I was pregnant yet. It doesn't make it better for a man to lay his hands on a woman, but it gives evidence to the fact that this woman is lying about a lot of stuff, probably. It's lying, embellishing. So then it leads me to wonder, why is this woman embellishing the character of James Casbolt to villainize him to the point that she has villainized him? In my head, I'm thinking because she's probably feeling terrible about the fact that she could have put him in prison for 12 years. 6 years was worse enough. 6 years was bad enough. 12 years was the sentence. Oh, and she's like, well, it wasn't just me. It was 2 other women. Okay, but those women would have never pressed charges if you didn't encourage them to do so. Because these were benign charges, because the judge found him as a stalker. These women were probably predatory witches. We don't like witches. Warlocks don't like witches. They could probably open a case in fucking Timbuktu and find a way to prosecute me back in the dark ages of 2013, when things were the darkest they could be. They could probably have done that back in 2013 Luckily, I'm doing my bidding now in 2025, where people are a lot smarter, more aware. And I want to say, do you take no responsibility for the fact that you allowed this man to take these videos and images of you? So everything that happened to James Casbolt, I'm not going to say it like in, written stone, but I'm like, it started with Haley. It started with her decisions. Her decision to bring him in the country, her family's decision to expedite him to the top of the army, her own decision to allow him to take these atrocious videos and photos of him, her decision to kick him out of the country, her decision to invite Sarah Adams and Max Spears into their household even though it was toxic, her decision to put him around people where he was outnumbered. He had no say. He had no voice. He was outnumbered by billionaires and ufologists and Sarah Adams and Max Spears. These were all Haley's decisions. So I wonder to this day, do you not feel the least bit responsible? Is the reason why you villainized him to the point that you did because deep down you actually feel terrible about putting this man in jail for 6+ years? And she loses her shit and she blocks me, which means that she's not ready to admit it yet, or she actually finds absolutely no responsibility whatsoever in the whole situation, which makes her a fucking psycho. And I hope that's not the case. But this is the update on Haley Meijer. I don't give a shit that her dad's a billionaire. I got my own personal weird. He's a fucking creep, dude. Hank Meijer is such a fucking creep. He owns the metaverse, by the way. Hank Meijer is like the demon in the metaverse. Whatever that weird thing is, it kind of like came and went. That's his brainchild. That's his invention. This is why I say I don't like this family. I don't dislike this family. I never felt sinister vibes towards Hank Meijer, but I understand that metaverse, this creepy weird thing that he created, is actually Hank Meijer's. He's hiding behind this face of being just the CEO of Meijer Grocer and vice chairman. No, he's Mr. Ford Motors. He's Cornelius Vanderbilt in spirit. He's the owner of the metaverse. This is not just some like, oh, cute, dorky old billionaire. No, he's not. So I don't give a shit. Why would I ever care? These are small potatoes to me. These people need to have their come to the truth moment. Come to the truth moment. It's like you're begging for it when you lash out at me, finally, after years. I'm so glad people's demons are finally lashing out after years, because finally I have the context to ask you, did you see no fault? Do you not feel guilty whatsoever to what you did to this person? Oh, but what they did to me. It's 2025. Nobody wants to dote on the victimhood, but they want to hear the truth of the other side of the story. These people tried to kill the rooster, but the rooster's coming back for redemption. And it's not them having to do it on their own. It's people wanting it on their behalf because we don't like people like Haley Meijer and the way that she's so puppeted. We don't want that for her. We don't want her to be such a super scared ultra victim, can't stand up for herself kind of woman. We don't like these predatory billionaires. We're sort of glad your fucking mansions are being burnt down in California. This is like a weird metaphor, but there's sort of a sense of relief. Sorry your mansion in Malibu burnt down. People don't like people like them in the way that they are acting, the way that they've been acting for so long. People want to see a happy ending for the people that they were predatory towards, like James Casbolt, the Meijer family towards James Casbolt. It's 2025. People want to hear a happy ending for James Casbolt. People want to hear the other side of the story. This is the theme that is going through everybody's pulse at the moment. We don't like these other people in the way they've been acting. Not saying we don't like them. We don't like the way that they've been acting. Not saying we don't like them personally. We don't like the way that they've been acting. That's what I'm going to leave it with. So, that's just it for now. I don't know. Can of worms. Probably figure itself out pretty quick. Probably won't be public. Probably be quite personal. Right? The blessings that God gives you are probably quite personal, not super public. Doesn't need to be super public. It's probably going to be these silent blessings and redemption. And you can keep your public tabloids because we'll have our own personal victories.